Hello and welcome to Barbados Catholic Podcast, the show where two Mexican dads talk about faith, life, and culture. We are your hosts,
Gustavo.
and Walter. And today we're going to talk to Cristofer Pereyra about his first book, Catholic Leadership for Civil Society. Christopher, welcome to the podcast. How's it going?
Very, very good. Thank you, Gustavo, Walter. Thank you. I'm honored to be a guest in your show.
Thank you.
Well, we're honored to have you. Thank you so much for making time.
Yeah.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
And Christopher, for the people that don't know you, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, if you're convert, cradle Catholic, all that fun stuff?
Absolutely. Gosh, how far back do you want me to go? Uh, I am a cradle Catholic. However, the faith was never really strong in our household, and I am also a child of divorce.
Mm,
So that created some problems of its own. Uh, I did all of my sacraments, and I think I remember my mother teaching me how to pray once when I was little. That's it. That's it. I had really no. And at some point during my teen years, I remember liking this Protestant girl at high school, at my high school in
there
Peru,
is
back in
always a
Peru.
girl.
There's always a girl, but here's the kicker. I feel that the Lord has always attracted it, me back to the faith through beauty,
Oh,
because
there you
because
go.
of this girl who was a Protestant. I began thinking about God, because in order
Hmm.
for me to get close to her, she needed to know that I was a believer, and I began praying. Right, I didn't get too serious then, but again, here in the United States, when I got married and went through the marriage preparation process, because again, here in the United States, because again, I needed to get the acceptance of a Catholic lady, my wife, and she wanted to get married in the church. So because she wanted to get married in the church, because I wanted to get married to her, I
Hmm.
went through the marriage preparation process, and I discovered the beauty of my Catholic faith again, and it was beauty that brought me again.
That's beautiful. That's
So
awesome.
that's how we got you back in the
that's
fold.
that's how
Oh,
I I
praise God for
I
your
came back.
wife. Then
Yeah, yeah. It
she's a
was the
Hmm.
keeper.
marriage preparation program at the Diocese of Phoenix. 6 months.
It's a
That's
great
amazing.
program. Um, and you say you're originally from Peru. You lived in Phoenix, um, and then to the point where you've gotten involved with diocese, and then now, well, I think the first time that you and I met was because of the Tepeyac Leadership Initiative. Can you talk a little bit about TLI?
Absolutely. Thank you, Walter. So about 6 years ago, I was working for Bishop Olmsted as the director of the Hispanic Mission Office. And as an employee representative of the Diocese of Phoenix, I was sent to a secular leadership development program in Arizona. And it was a very interesting experience because it was a secular program. Everybody there was from the secular world. I was the only person that came from the faith-based world. And going through the program, it was a mixed feelings experience, because at times I was very frustrated to be one of the few conservative voices during the sessions, in the
Hmm.
conversations. Um, but then it also opened my eyes to the reality of civic leadership development in the United States. I don't know if you're aware, but around the country, in every major city, these programs have been around since the 70s. They
Hmm.
take on names like Leadership Philadelphia, Leadership Los Angeles. Here in Arizona, we have quite a few of them as well. And these programs have been, for decades now, sort of under the radar, being
Mm.
catapulting professionals into key leadership positions in their own communities. So they create networks, and they prepare people and really push them into leadership in their communities. This means board service, philanthropy, politics. Unfortunately, 6 years ago, I also realized that many of these programs, most of these programs, are forming leaders with values that run counter to Catholic teaching.
Mm.
Hmm.
So we went to Bishop Olmsted and we proposed to him, we pitched the idea of starting our own. We thought this was actually a good idea, was just not being oriented right. We thought we could make it better because we could make it Catholic. And that's how
Hmm.
Tepeyac Leadership started.
Yeah. So the first time that I knew about you, Christopher, is because I saw you in the Into the Breach video. I think you were one of the Hispanic representation there for that video, which for me that was one of my turning points in terms of my faith really really stepping up and being more committed. Because I saw that video and we went through that program, and the retreat that we did was based on the bishop's document, and for me it was pretty much life changing. And so I remember seeing you there. So when I met with you for TLI, um, I was like, you look very familiar, and that's kind of when I connected the dots. You also had a radio show for a little bit, right?
Yes, I used to host in Spanish, en español, a radio show at Infamilia Radio, which was a talk show. We would talk Monday through Friday at 8 a.m. It was a whole hour. We'll talk about culture, politics,
Mm-hmm.
and always try to find the Catholic angle or the moral, ethical angle to whatever's happening in the news.
Yeah.
And
Mm.
we'll try to offer some commentary. It was a lot of fun. It was very, very enjoyable. I did that for about 5 years.
Oh
Wow.
wow.
Um, then I had to move on. I could no longer
Mm-hmm.
do it, and the Lord was calling me for to another mission with Tepeyac
Mm-hmm.
Leadership.
Yeah. So a little backstory. So both Walter and I interviewed and applied for Tepeyac Leadership for the first cohort.
Well, for our
Um,
pastor asked us to apply.
yeah.
Let's preface
Yeah.
it with
So
that.
Okay.
yeah. So through our pastor, he said, "Okay, here's two guys that I think would fit this program." Um, One of us made it, and the other one didn't. Right. And our mutual friend, Maria Escarcega, that she was in the program with me at that time. She said TLI would have imploded in itself because if you follow the podcast, we've established that Walter and I are pretty much the same person.
It's a
So
running
even
gag
Maria,
that we have.
when she met me, and she didn't know anything about me, she just heard from like the sharing experiences that I was a parishioner at St. Joan of Arc, and she came up to me afterward and she's like, "Do you know Walter Cantu?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I do." It's like, "You guys are like the same person," and that's like not the first. That's not the first time that we've been told that. And she said, both of you couldn't have been here because TLI would have just like
It was
sucked
just
into
too
itself
much.
and just imploded.
We wouldn't have been able to handle it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
So that's great.
so
Not every day do you have the founder of the Tepeyac Leadership Initiative in the class president of the first cohort.
there
That's
you go.
right. That's
Yeah.
right. Gustavo
That
became the
was.
first class president, and since then has really been a very strong ally of the program, supporting us continue to advance its mission. And that was the first cohort of a program that started as a diocesan program,
Mm-hmm.
but as the Lord surprised us with His plan, the program went national and then international, and TLI is now a
Mm-hmm.
global leadership
Yep.
development program.
Okay, how did that happen? Was it COVID that like kicked everything out of proportion? Well, not out of
So
proportion, but you know what I mean.
Like into
it
next gear, right? It kicked it into next gear
it sort
because
of
the
did.
the growth was already happening, kind of like organically. Because if I'm not mistaken, you took it. Was it three cohorts here in Phoenix, and then you expanded it to Los Angeles, right?
After the second cohort on year three, we were
Okay.
already doing simultaneously Phoenix and Los Angeles. And in Los Angeles, it was very successful as well.
Mm-hmm.
Then it was in the midst of the program, in the middle of the program in 2020, that COVID hit. And at that point, we already had our sights on a national program.
Got it.
Bishop Olmsted had given us his blessing. We had already created a board and established a nonprofit. We already had a 501c3 designation. However, we thought our business plan was, well, we'll go national, we'll take it one diocese at a time, and we'll go at God's pace.
Mm-hmm.
But God's pace was much faster than we thought because COVID took us out of our comfort zone. We had to go virtual. and now the program is permanently virtual. We're not going to go back to in person. It is the way in which the world was opened
Hmm.
up to us, and now the sessions are live. We have replicated the experience. I would say that we come very close, 99% to what it was when it was in person. There are still one-on-one interactions, small group settings, breakout rooms, very dynamic sessions, and we did keep the retreat in person. The
Hmm.
retreat still in person, so participants join 18 sessions over the course of 5 months and then come together and choose between Phoenix or Nashville, Tennessee to do their retreat. And that's where it's sort of the highlight of the program, as you know, Gustavo. It brings all the
Yep.
participants together. And we call it the Virtuous Leadership Retreat.
Hmm.
Is it at
Yeah, it's
Ryan
beautiful.
Hanning's homestead? Dr. Ryan
The,
Hanning's homestead.
Dr. Ryan Hanning, it's actually the person who has led the retreat every time.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. That was the big selling point for me in terms of like the caliber of speakers that you had. For my cohort, I remember that we had Jason Everett, we have Dr. Ryan Hanning, we had um, the name of the Supreme Maricopa County. Who
Oh,
is it?
Justice Bill Montgomery. Justice Bill
Yeah, just
Montgomery.
now Justice Bill Montgomery, which
Yes,
was huge, right? It was like all these different topics that was I kind of knew about. I wasn't too much into the news back then, but that really opened my eyes to say we just need to be engaged. The culture is winning. We have to claim it, reclaim it, essentially,
absolutely.
for God's mission. And for me, the 5 months were were over like a flash because it was so. And it's 3 hours every Tuesday was no small feat, right? Because
Hmm.
most of us obviously worked. We went there right after work. It was in person at that time, and so the curriculum itself was somewhat demanding, especially for somebody that has a young family. And most of us, like a lot of us, did. There were a lot of young people too that were coming out of college and whatnot. But in terms of like the curriculum itself, it was pretty demanding. But you didn't feel it because when you were there, it was so engaging and so dynamic, like you said, that the 3 hour just flew by, and there was always not enough time to get all those questions answered. You kind of like always wanted more from the session. So is that something that you were able to translate in the digital space?
Absolutely, Gustavo. And it's all by the grace of God. Listen, the only thing we've done is we've tried not to get in God's way, because
Yeah.
it is really Him who has made this happen. And the program has unfolded in front of me, and most of the time surprising me. Uh, so yes, that's happening when we in the virtual platform as well, Gustavo. By the end of the session, any of the three different tracks of the program that we now have, three different facilitators in three different time zones, and they're all the same. The dynamic is just as engaging, and all of the facilitators report the same thing. By the end of the session, we need to cut it out and dismiss the session after the third hour, but participants are always left wanting more. And
Yeah.
the last time I facilitated, now it's been a year since I facilitated a session. I remember I used to tell them, listen, we have to start on time and end on time, but there's nothing forbidding you from going into another virtual platform
Hmm.
and continuing the conversation. And a
Yeah.
few of them do, but all of them have family, children, and of course they
Right.
just wait until next week.
Yeah. So for me, it kind of went full circle because I'm lucky enough to be one of your facilitators with Into the Breach. We did it last year.
One of the
That was my
experts, one of
first.
the speakers.
Oh,
You're one of
experts.
the
There you
speakers.
go.
Yeah, yeah, yes.
There you go. So it kind of, like I said, went full circle because it's Into the Breach that really got me engaged back into my faith in a more serious and adult way. I like to say it. And now I'm lucky enough to share my experience not only about TLI but of the wonderful document of that is Into the Breach. I can't recommend that document enough. And I think you did a wonderful job, obviously being guided by Bishop Olmsted and incorporating his document into the program. And I love that you still make it part of the curriculum, even to this day.
Absolutely. There is so much of Bishop Olmsted in the program. I always say Bishop Olmsted is the founder of TLI.
Hmm.
TLI is his vision. I am the person that has executed the vision on the vision,
Hmm.
carried out his vision. But there's so much of Bishop Olmsted in the curriculum. Not only do we have a session on Into the Breach, we have a session on Catholics in the Public Square, which is
I was
Hmm.
another
just going to
exhortation, another
say,
document.
yeah, I think
Hmm.
that predates Into the Breach, right? Because I think
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
I moved here in 2012, and it must have come around that time, because I grabbed a copy at St. Joan of Arc when I came out of mass one time, and that's a perfect segue for the question that I had. So when you talk about leadership, like I remember in high school there was like a leadership club, and all of these things, like if I remember correctly, they would like teach high school students about the 7 habits of highly successful people and all of these
Hmm.
things that to make you know kids into like responsible adults that eventually they could lead. um, and now as a father, I think it's a different kind of leadership, leading a family spiritually, being a provider, all of these things that require to lead a family at the parish level as well. But I think that the what TLI is focused on is not just at the family, which is good, not just the parish, which is also very good, but is around the community, like you said, building networks, and then being in the like the fabric of society.
Hmm.
Am I along the right track in this thought?
Absolutely. Yes, Walter. We first of all, when it comes to leadership, now I've been at the leadership in the leadership business for about 7 years.
Mm,
So I realized that there's no consensus on what it means to be a leader.
mm,
And in the world, in the secular world, there is an entire industry around the topic of leadership. There are books, videos, workshops, conferences, all kinds of material out there, and everybody making the promise of making people, turning people into leaders. But yet there is no consensus, and the dictionaries are not much help
mm,
when you're trying to find a definition for it. So you have to start somewhere. We have adopted the definition of the Virtuous Leadership Institute, which is that a
Hmm.
leader is someone who accomplishes great things by bringing out the greatness in others.
mm,
And that is the leadership that we want to foment or promote through the program. Now, the place that our program participants are invited to exert that influence in is civil society. We take it as a given, and we definitely make sure to cover that within the program as well, so that it's very clear that a lay Catholic professional's priorities must be in order. God must be at the center of their life, in the center of their
mm,
life. Then family, and then work. Work needs to come
Hmm.
after those two things. And the time that we spend every day and every week and every year in each of those three areas should should represent that order of priority. So we should spend a lot more time thinking about God and in our spiritual life, in our interior life, and with our families than at work.
Hmm.
However, having established that, we highly encourage our program participants and graduates to intentionally seek to become influential leaders in society. Once they're taking care of their spirit, their soul, and their families, to go out and lead, because the world is desperately in need of leadership. And we are convinced that most of the problems that we see in society today, name any problem, at the root is the lack of principled, ethical,
Hmm.
virtuous leadership.
Exactly. When you're talking about that set of priorities, I'm always reminded about the one of the greatest football coaches that ever lived, Vince Lombardi, which who's the Super Bowl trophies named after, and that's one of his best quotes. It says, "God, family, the Green Bay Packers in that order." And Vince Lombardi was a coach that he started every day with mass. He received the Eucharist every day, and he achieved, like you said, great things, and he brought out greatness in others. So he established a culture not only of winning but of values and of um, being better for your teammate. And that is something that also I think TLI does very well, because the brotherhoods and the friendships that you form there with all different peoples from different walks of life, lawyers, doctors, like you said, it's like a great mix of talent in there. And and it's like, I talk to them regularly. I go on hikes with like a lot of them. We have a chat, on Telegram, that we constantly like ask for prayers, or like network through. Oh, somebody's like looking for another job, or they just are looking for another opportunity. So it's such a tight knit community that starts at the root, like you said, from that uh, um, same set of guiding principles. We're all trying to get ourselves and our families and as many people as possible to heaven. That's where we start, and it comes through so much in the quality of participants that TLI has. So it's I'm very grateful for the experience that I had, and for knowing you, and obviously for Bishop Olmsted's vision in that, because I think it's been um, really, really instrumental in a lot of young professionals' growth.
Thank you, Gustavo. It's been a privilege for me, and I think I can speak for all the staff at TLI, the facilitators, all of us, the facilitators, our program manager. We're all constantly benefiting from the experience, from the TLI experience. I have gone through the retreat now 5 times, right? Because I am coordinating the retreat, so I'm there, and every time I gain something new. And the
Yeah.
relationships, meeting people such as yourself, and relating to other Catholics who love their faith and just want to make their communities a better place. We continuously grow from the relationships that we build and the network that we are building through TLI.
Hmm. That's
So
awesome.
seven
So,
7 years doing this, and now you have a book published. Um, can you tell us a little bit? Can you talk about what the
showing it on camera for the people that are listening.
watching?
Thank thank you so
Oh, I'm
much,
sorry.
by the
Okay, I
way,
think that's what you're saying.
Yeah.
for your support of the book. I really appreciate
Yeah.
you inviting me to talk about the book. The book, let me tell
Yeah.
you, Gustavo, it's it has been a major satisfaction to finish this project. We started this project about 2 years ago, and
Hmm.
it wasn't long after we were continuing the mission of TLI that I realized this program needs a book. We need our book.
Hmm.
We've been using
Yeah.
other books that we give the participants, great books, but we
Hmm.
thought, gosh, what we have going in the program, the message of the program is pretty unique, and those who still don't know TLI, when they experience it, they'll understand it's pretty unique within the Catholic world. We have to put this into a book. I started writing the book. 1 or 2 chapters into it, I realized this is taking me forever. But I need the book at this pace. I don't know when I'm gonna finish. I need this book right away so that the program can benefit from it and we can have
Hmm.
more value, takeaway value for the participants. So the book is now something that the participants can take with them, sort of as a guide, a manual, something, a
Hmm.
resource that they can always go back to, because the book is built on the content of the program. While it is independent from the program, anybody who hasn't
Hmm.
gone through the program or will never go through the program will still benefit from the book. But it's something of value that we can add for program participants. So at that time, we were already getting a lot of help from one of the graduates of the program, Erin Monnin, who's a very talented lady, who a
Hmm.
mother and a wife, who's also in philanthropy and works for St. Vincent de Paul, the Society of St. Vincent de Paul. And she was already helping us a lot. She was actually the editor of our blog. And
Okay.
I realized that she was a very talented writer. And I every time she would write a column or a piece, I enjoy it so much, and I would realize she totally gets what we're doing with TLI. She totally understands the mission of TLI. She writes so well. So because of her talent, it was an obvious connection in my brain. I need help. Who can I ask? Erin. I can ask Erin. So
Hmm.
I asked her, listen, I'm writing this book. Do you want to partner up? We'll split, we'll divide the work, we'll divide and conquer, and then we'll keep each other accountable. That was key, right? Because we
Hmm.
set up timelines and we
Hmm.
wouldn't always meet the timelines, but it wasn't any longer just Cristofer trying to do something, and the only person I have to respond to is Cristofer. Now
Right.
I knew that Erin was expecting me to finish my chapters, and I was expecting her to finish her chapters. It was so helpful. We would revise and check on each other's work, and after completing the book, because we self-published,
Hmm.
we still benefited from the value of editors because we outsourced two wonderful people to edit the book and make it even a richer and more valuable um, reading experience. And
That's
that's the
amazing.
story of Catholic Leadership for Civil Society. We're very proud of it. It's not a perfect book, but we believe we don't have a high in the clouds theological abstract concept to share. No, no, it's a very
Hmm.
simple message, but we
Correct.
believe it is a very important message. And if I may tell you what is at the heart of the book, the message that is at the heart of the book, people still need to read it to benefit from the message, but uh, it's really what has been at the heart of TLI. And it wasn't clear from the beginning, Gustavo, Walter. But as you do the work of God, He begins to open up sort of more windows into you. You begin to see a full picture of what He
Right.
wants you to do, right?
Yeah.
So we are convinced that what we're doing at TLI is answering the neglected call from the Second Vatican Council. The Second Vatican Council,
Hmm.
gentlemen, I am sure you have read the documents. Most of the people who talk about the document about the council have not even read any of the documents, and Catholics, unfortunately, will argue about two aspects of the council: the ecumenical aspects of the Second Vatican Council and the changes in the liturgy. Lay
Hmm.
Catholics and even clergy will get into arguments about those two aspects of the council very often, and
Yeah.
they'll talk about it all day long.
Yep.
One other component of the council, which was to me fundamental, that has been widely ignored, at least from my perception, is that the Second Vatican Council had a bold challenge to the laity.
Hmm.
The Second Vatican Council gave us our marching orders. If you
Hmm.
read the documents, Apostolicum Actuositatem, Gaudium et Spes, Christi Fidelis Laici, throughout the documents, you see it. And the document had an invitation for us, for the laity, to transform society from within, to
Hmm.
sanctify ourselves by sanctifying the world, to renew the temporal order. And that is what we want to put in the minds and hearts of our readers and program participants. And what it boils down to is our mission as lay Catholics is not to spend all day at the parish.
Right.
We've been getting it
Hmm.
wrong. True, we must be involved in our parish community. Absolutely. We must be supportive to our pastors. 100%. We must continuously grow in the faith. Yes. But as lay people, our field of mission should be the world.
Hmm.
So in the book and in the program, we're showing Catholics, particularly professionals, that's our niche, how to lead, but not for ministry, how to lead in civil society.
Mm. Yeah, that's a really good differentiation. It makes me think of Saint Jose Maria Escrivá de Balaguer,
Hmm.
with the work Opus Dei, and we even had a previous guest in the podcast. We were discussing a quote from Bishop Fulton Sheen. Says he was going to say the church is the laity, um,
Hmm.
and and this fits in really good with one of the notes that Gustavo had for about the book. The foreword is written by Archbishop Jose Gomez, which is fantastic, by the way. It
Yeah.
says we're
So not everybody can say, yeah, the president of the USCCB wrote our
right.
forward.
Is
uh,
that a gift from God or
That's
what?
such a blessing.
That's
Oh
a
my
gift.
goodness.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
he says that we are living in the hour of the laity, and that we cannot all be theologians or apologists. So that makes it even more fitting to what you are just saying, that it's not, we cannot all be theologians and philosophers. We're just like I'm a software engineer, like, and I would
Hmm.
like to help build the kingdom of God with the tools that God has given, with the gifts that God has given me. But I think that at least me personally, I have seen leadership like at the parish level, and then yeah, stop there. at some point I was helping with the pregnancy center for a short period of time, but I think that there is a need, like you said, for more of that. But how would you tell people that are listening or watching this episode to like small steps to get started?
Absolutely. So
Buy the book,
the
right?
buy the book for sure. And the book is now it's now on Kindle and
And
print, and it's going to be on audiobook as well. But we do lay out a roadmap in the book because we tell the audience, whether they're program participants of TLI or readers of the book now, we tell them that there are some fundamentals that are
Okay.
needed for a layperson to become a Catholic leader for civil society, right? And we talk about three fundamentals at a very good understanding of human dignity. We need to understand human dignity. And the church has so much to say with regards to that. And we point to some resources for people to go and educate themselves because we can self teach ourselves. Catholics, there are so
hmm
many resources out there.
Yeah.
Catholic social doctrine has so much to say about how to lead in civil society. And the third one is a little more, uh, has to do with the interior life. It's our character, it's growth in virtue.
hmm
If we have a proper understanding of human dignity, if we know Catholic social doctrine, and we have made a life commitment to grow, to build a character by growing in virtue, then we're ready. We're ready. And we need to be discerning and speaking to God and listening to God. Listening to God so that He shows us, and He always does. How is it? In which concrete way He wants us to lead in civil society?
Mm.
hmm
That makes me think of From Temperament to Character by Alexander Havard. One of, I think Gustavo and I have been exchanging notes on Havard, right, left, right, and center after
Yeah.
he went through TLI, because virtue is something that people can work on to get better at. It's not like something that you are born with the temperament that you cannot change, but the virtue you can work
hmm
on and
hmm
and grow in it. So that is fantastic news. It was
and
fantastic news when I
everything,
found out.
yeah, and everything kind of like boils into magnanimity, right? I mean, that's kind of like one of those key words that just stuck with me when I went through the program, because it's about really striving for greatness. You know, you put the one of my favorite quotes in the book from Pope Benedict the 16th is like, the world offers you comfort, but you were not made for comfort. You were made for greatness, not for ourselves. You know, greatness for others, for our fellow man, for our neighbor. And if we apply those principles and grow in virtue, like you said, and align it with uh, doctrine, social teaching, Catholic social teaching, and just pick an issue in society, right? And then go. And then that's it. And that's another thing the program is not passive, and the book is not passive. So I really like the fact that you brought that dynamism into the book, because it's a call to action. The program, it's not like, here's your
Thank you, Gustavo.
certificate. Hey, here's your certificate. Just go do whatever
See you
you know.
later.
You yeah, see you later. It's like, hope this helped. Whatever. But you make a leadership commitment. So right off the bat, that's one of like the requirements. It's not an option, it's a requirement that really puts you on the spot, because we need to be put on the spot, because otherwise we'll just let life lead us wherever it goes. And no, we are action oriented. As Catholics, we have a mission. We need to evangelize. And I think the program makes it front and center. And all through the program, you're like reminding people, remember, you got the leadership commitment. Make it something that it's valuable, something that you can stand by, something that you can execute, that it's not like pie in the sky. I'm gonna save starving children in Africa when you live like here. And that's not something that is not attainable, but what can you do here? What can you do now with the time, talent, and treasure that God has given to you at this moment in life? um so yeah, I mean, that pursuit of greatness is something that I think is really infectious, and comes through in the book very well.
I'm so glad to hear you say that, Gustavo. That was definitely our intention, that the book would compel people to act, and I'm
Hmm.
so glad to hear that that's how you feel about it.
Yeah.
And if you can tell, the podcast in a way is kind of a product of TLI, because after Gustavo was done with TLI, we had chats about like, we need to do something.
Yeah.
I don't know what we need to
Hmm.
do. We need to do something. And in our brainstorming sessions, we'll just start a podcast and tell people how ordinary dads live authentic faith. And here we are, a
Hmm.
year and a half into doing this, and until God says no more, we're going to continue doing it.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
it's amazing, gentlemen. I don't know, you must have an idea, but it never ceases to surprise me how things that we do, projects that we embark on, can touch lives, can truly touch lives, transform, and people are suddenly are pivoting into a different direction, a better direction, because of something that God used us as instruments to do.
Yep.
Hmm.
And I see the fruit of the program. Whether this is fruit of the program, I can't always. I can't. I don't think it's for me to point to something and say this is fruit of the program. You can say that, but I have seen the graduates of TLI do so many amazing things. It's just, to me, it's just humbling to see. We have people that, for leadership, the leadership commitment. We had a teacher that said he had never thought of it. He was just happy being a teacher, and then through the program, he said, "I feel now called to lead in the educational world," and he became a headmaster at his institution, at his liberal arts school. And
That's
all of
amazing.
our, not all, most of our graduates, and some are just about getting there, are serving on boards. Board service is a big
Hmm.
thing for us. And all of our graduates are rolling up their sleeves and serving and leading in their communities.
Well, that you touched on a very important point, that the board service. We have to be more involved. In terms of like how the country is going, education is where it starts, and what our kids are taught in those classrooms uh, is paramount. And you have a great example of people finally waking up earlier this year with attending school board meetings, and fighting for what they believe in and what they don't believe in, right? Fighting against what they don't believe in. And I think having active members of not just the Catholic faith, but that we share basic moral values with, in positions of leadership in school boards, is something that just needs to happen if we want a change to happen in that aspect of our society, I believe.
What we say in the book, and have been saying it through the program, is that in society, there are tables that people sit around in which they're making decisions, important decisions.
Hmm.
We call those boards. Some are official formal boards, governance boards, advisory boards, fundraising boards, boards of institutions, for profit, non profit, faith based, non faith based. Others are not called boards, but they're still like boards and have influence. A parent teacher association, a homeowners association, a Rotary or Lions Club. People are sitting around the tables making decisions. We need more Catholics in those tables. We
Hmm.
need more Catholics who are well formed and courageous enough to stand up for truth and justice when the wrong decisions are about to be made, like the disastrous decisions that have been made in public school districts, for example, in the state of California
Hmm.
over the past few decades.
Yeah.
Yeah. Grab a chair is the message, I guess.
Exactly.
Yeah,
If not us,
exactly.
who? If not now,
It does.
when?
Yeah,
Exactly.
definitely. I think that another one of the notes that we have for from the show, from the book, I'm sorry, that is, we are now, it's like a prime time for us as the laity, because we're technically living in a post-Christian world, and we're again in mission territory. We
Hmm.
it's one of the, I was actually talking to my wife that maybe when when we get to heaven, we're gonna see the saints from other centuries, and they're gonna be like, "Oh, you guys lived in the 2000s." Like, you had it really hard, like down there. Like, good job getting all the way here.
Yeah.
Um, but it's kind of
Hmm.
there's this hope of like the flourishing of the laity in civil society with programs like TLI, with British Leadership Institute, with the book, and all of these things that are happening with bishops like Bishop Olmsted and Bishop Gomez, um, that are putting that emphasis on building civil leaders that are Catholics. And I really right now, like, you are really compelling me to look more into that. Um, like I said, I was briefly involved with in a board of directors, and that might be something that I need to take to prayer and see what else can I do. I think that's one of the questions that Gustavo and I are always having in the back of our minds is like, can we do more?
Hmm.
You know.
Yeah.
Um,
So yeah, and for all those people that have young families, Walter has a relatively young family still. I'm kind of like nearing the teens now, um, but it's important for us to don't bite off more than we can chew. Right?
Hmm.
It's our primary vocation is as husbands and fathers, and that's I think where we can make a lot of impact. And like Lombardi said, God, family, and the Green Bay Packers. Um, so not last season so much, but okay. But it's really fantastic that you guys wrote this book, and the book is now available obviously on Amazon and Kindle, paperback, right, Christopher? And so congratulations to both you and Erin. And I know that you're going to have a book blessing event here coming up soon. Is that correct?
Yes. By the way, I'm not sure when this show is gonna air, but if it's gonna air before, the book blessing is going to be on May 5th at
Hmm.
11 a.m. here in Phoenix at the Society of St. Vincent de Paul. Bishop Olmsted is going to be with us blessing the book, and it's going to be sort of the kickoff event for the book.
yeah, this is coming
That is
out
wonderful.
before
Next
that, so
week.
definitely show up May 5th, to get your signed copy. Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, we'll have copies. We'll have copies available for people to get, and Erin and I will be signing them. And most importantly, we want to get exposure. We'll do an event like this to get a blessing from Bishop, so that the
Yeah.
book really touches people's hearts
Hmm.
and yields fruit. But we want exposure for sure for the book. We think that we have an important message. We think
It
that we
is.
have an important message.
It totally is.
So, on top of the book, where can people find out more about TLI and any other things that you want to plug for people to check out? I know that you're very active on LinkedIn, for example, but where else can people find you? And Aaron.
Absolutely. Thank you, Walter. So I will point out people, invite people to go to tliprogram.org, tliprogram.org, to learn everything about our program, which is Forming Catholic Leaders for Civil Society. If they want to read the book, which is called Catholic Leaders Leadership for Civil Society, they can find it in the book's website, catholicleadership.net, or on Amazon. Guess what? This is beautiful. You go to Amazon and you search. You don't even have to check on a category. Just do a general search and type two words, Catholic leadership. The first thing that pops up is the book.
Nice.
Oh, that's beautiful. Well, there you go. I'm doing that right now
No excuses,
as we.
guys.
And please go ahead, go on and leave us a review on Amazon, Gustavo, whenever you get a chance. That'd be so helpful.
There it is. Number one.
And there
That's
might be
beautiful.
another one, but those are sponsorships. Ours is not paying to be on the top.
Yeah. Ascension Press is above you, but I think they're paying some
They're
stuff up there.
sponsors. Yeah, they're paying to be there.
No, that's wonderful. Yep. So Christopher, very very excited again for the growth of the program, for your leadership, in your capacity, and for all the lives that you have helped transform, again, with obviously God's hand and the Holy Spirit guiding you through this endeavor. So anything else that you want to tackle before we kind of like last call here for close that shop?
Yeah, gosh, Gustavo, you know what? I want to invite people to pray about their. I mean, I'm not implying that people don't know their purpose in life, but though in the program we encounter people who are confused about their
Hmm.
identity and purpose in life. Some people might need a little more clarity. I want to invite people to spend time praying about, discerning about who they are and what God made them for. Because if we all realize, all of the baptized, we have a common identity. We're all children of God. We all share that identity, children of God. And then, of course, each one is an individual. We also have a common purpose. That purpose is heaven. We're made to be saints, to be holy. What that looks like in each of our lives, that's what's individual. Each of us was
Hmm.
created for a reason. We have a mission. We
Hmm.
can't just live life as if it was a random event. We were created with a mission. And I just want to invite people, whether they read the book or not, or look up our program or not, to pray about who they are and what God wants of them in their life.
That's
Beautiful.
amazing. We'll leave it at that. Thank you, Christopher, again for your time. So generous. Best of luck with the book and the TLI and everything that you are doing. And we'll have to have Erin. We'll have extended
Yes,
invitation to her
please.
for the podcast. But in the meantime, we want to thank you for listening or watching this episode of Barbados Catholic Podcast, a show where two Mexican dads talk about faith, life, and culture. If you like the podcast or got something out of this, please share it with your friends and family. Subscribe, like, comment, rate, and review if you haven't. And if you don't like the podcast, well, just keep it to yourself and let others make their own mistakes. And go to direct.me/Barbatus for more information about the podcast, where you can listen. If you want to donate, we have some other goodies in there. And bless us, Casey. Pray for us.
Pray for us.
Until the next time.